It's 9 a.m. in Banjul, and welcome to the Thursday's edition of the Good Morning Africa live on Africa TV. Once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we are back again to bring you another very interesting and, of course, as ever, informative edition of the program that we always at this time of the morning bring you. And, of course, wherever you are, be it in the country or beyond, thank you for joining us. And we are going to bring you some interesting reports. Like I said, we are going to look at the ongoing public hearing of the TRRC. Of course, the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the AFPRC regime completed his testimony yesterday, and we would bring you a report on that. We will also report on security matters later on in the program, and we will also go beyond the source of the country and bring you some other very striking development happening, so, of course, elsewhere around the continent. So this and more coming ahead in today's edition of the program. Time permitting, we'll also bring you the newspaper review as always we do before we end the program. Once again, thank you for coming along. su ko defee mbokk ñu ngi leen di nuyu beneen yoon fii ci Africa TV juróom-ñeenti waxtu si suba daal di jot mooy waxtu bi nga xamante ne si la ñu joxe rendez-vous ñu daje ak yéen si suba si la ñëw waxtaan li nga xamante ne mooy tolluwaay réew mi xew-xew yi ak jamono ci réew mi nu moo doxee waaye tamit ñu digtal leen suñuy ay xibaar dalal ci ay gan yu waxtaanee li nga xamante ne mooy ci ponk yu am solo comme ni ñu koy defee saa su ne ñu ngi leen nag di ziar bu baax di am mbégte lool ci ni ngeen di ànd ak ñun waaye tamit ci safo bi ak ci kóolute bi xam ngeen ne mbégte lay nekk saa su ne ñu ñëw ànd ak yéen ci li nga xamante ne mooy ci programme bi comme ni ngi koy defee saa su ne dooree ko Monday ba Friday ñu ñëw ci suba si mu nekk nag li am solo ñu waxtaanee xew-xew yi kon ni ma ko waxee ci biir réew mi tolluwaay bi ak tamit li nga xamante ne ñu ngi ko waajal ci réew mi wala tamit xew na ak tamit feneen ci àdduna si yëpp ñu waxtaanee ko mu nekk lu am solo su ko defee di leen jaajëfalaat bu baax beneen yoon ci safo bi ak ci kóolute bi gannaaw nuyoo bi nag ñu soobu ci biir programme bi tey fas neen yéene indi ci xibaar yi dina ci bokk ci wàllum TRRC xam ngeen ne ba léegi seen liggéey bi mu ngi continuer di am fan yii nii yëpp ki nga xamante ne moom moo yore woon wàllu yoon ak yoonal ci AFPR ci administration bi seen jamono mooy gannaaw coup d'état bu mu fi amee 1994 junta bi ki nekkoon ministre jamono jooju moom moo teewoon ci TRRC wax ci lu bari ci doxalin bi ak tamit taxawaay bu mu ci amoon ak yu mel noonu su ko defee nañ ci dellusiwaat nañ tamit wax ci wàllum kaaraangi réew mi su ko defee loolu tamit mu nekk fànn bu am solo xam ngeen ne loolu dafa soxal waa réew mi jamono ji gis nañ nag police bi jëloon ci initiative pour di wóor di aar wala sax di seet li nga xamante ne mooy ñuy def naka sudul noonu ak yu mel noonu loolu tamit am na luñ ci wax ku yore kaddu police bi su ko defee loolu tamit nañ ci ñëwaat ci biir xibaar yi lii ak leneen ci kanam tuuti incha allah ñu yaatal ko wala sax léegi ñu soobu ci biir jotaay ji incha allah ñu dooree ko nag ak TRRC. Well, viewers, once again we go straight with our stories, and we begin with matters of the ongoing public hearing of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, that's the TRRC. Now, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Fawa Idris Mbai, said ex-President Jammeh has stolen taxpayers' money under a pretense of executive directive. Barrister Mbai made the remark as he continued his testimony before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission on Wednesday. The top lawyer was at the TRRC to give details of interference in the justice system as a private practitioner, as well as the former president's interference in the work of Gambia Revenue Authority. Here's more details of that in this report by Desise.
Among the issues discussed on Tuesday were the degrees passed by the council, his experience with the Algali Commission, as well as the consequences of that issue, such as his departure from the Justice Ministry, amongst others. The ex-Attorney General gave his testimony about interference in the justice system during his time as legal practitioner, appearing before the Third Commission on Wednesday. Lawyer Fafa Idris Mbai explained how former President Jammeh stole taxpayers' money.
And I learned in the Jammeh Commission proceedings
that's
all those who paid money under his executive directive
ñëpp ñi nga xam ne fayoon nañ xaalis ci kaw kaddu yi nga xam ne ñooy executive directive yooyu.
And those monies paid to that special account of the Trust Bank.
te xaalis yooyu yëpp ñi nga xam ne fay nañ ko ci account boobu bunti Trust Bank.
That account didn't go to revenue.
te xaalis boobu booluwee wuñ ko ci naamoy de.
Where did it go?
It went to the president.
xaalis bi yëpp ci président bi la dem.
Who was that?
kan la woon.
Yaya Jammeh.
Yaya Jammeh.
Yaya AJJ Jammeh.
Yaya AJJ Jammeh.
In a sense, he levied taxes on people and stole the money.
Yes, and on the pretense of an executive directive, which was illegal.
According to him, serving as the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice at a time brought a destructive impact to him, and by extension to his family.
But the experience is since accepting office to serve as Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
waaye depuis bi ma jëlee liggéey boobu nekk Chief Minister of Justice ak Attorney General.
have been enormously devastating both to me and to my family.
lu mbir la boo xam ne daf ma isili yàqute bu rëy man suma boppa ak suma njaboot.
I and my 3 little children were for 9 long years evicted from my 45 Kairaba Avenue property.
man maa suma doom ñetti doom dem na ba juróom-ñeneenti at fekk ñu ma génnee suma kër gi nekk 45 Kairaba Avenue.
Which property took me many years to develop.
te kër googu jël na ma at yu bari pour ma liggéey ko.
The seizure of my car, furniture, and all other household equipment.
ñu nangu suma moto bi ba pare bagage yi nekk suma biir néeg bi ñu jël bagage yi yëpp génnee ko fa yóbbu ko.
Including my Peugeot 505 G1A 8595 motor car.
Mr. Mbai said the seizure of his properties almost made him a refugee in his own country, and he was able to face and get out of this devastating impact due to the help of Basiru Jawara and his family. He noted that GRA enhanced greater and more efficient revenue collection, but the former president became enormously greedy, selfish and wicked. The witness told the commission that it is better to have a worse civilian government than a good military government. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
For the past 3 days, the former Justice Minister of the AFPRC regime has been appearing before the Truth Commission to testify on his role as the Justice Minister at the time, but also some of the things that he knew had happened during the Yaya Jammeh government in the justice system, by the way. So, of course, he completed his testimony on Wednesday after what has been a very long testimony from Monday to Wednesday yesterday. Now, we will move on from the matters of the TRRC and report on security matters, because the Federal Republic of Germany has presented 2 beach patrols, petrol land cruisers, vehicles worth 4.6 million, of course, through the charge the affair of the Gambia Navy Service to ease their patrol works around the riverside. The move, according to the German officials, is meant to assist the work of the Navy as an appropriate operating resource. Maria Macham tells us more of that in this report.
The vehicles will help strengthen the patrol activities of the Gambian Navy along the coast of the River Gambia. The Gambian Navy is responsible for patrolling the coastline against illegal activities ranging from human smuggling, trafficking, among others. Bon Banisht, liaison officer of the German Federal Police, says the 2 cars came in as grants from the German government to support the work of the Navy.
The states of the European Union are financing a project realized by our Spanish colleagues from the Guardia Civil, and the Gambian Navy profits from trainings in order to improve the surveillance and the protection of Gambia's smiling coast. I have the great honor to hand over 2 functional brand new Toyota cars, thank you, worth 4.6 million Dalasi as a grant from German taxpayers, you may say, to our Gambian partners represented by the Gambian Navy. These both cars are suitable in all meanings to support the service of the Navy as an appropriate operating resource.
Madani Senghor, commander of the Gambian Navy, commended the gesture, saying that it will help in curbing human smuggling, among others.
Such gestures are necessitated by the need to curb the challenge of illegal migration, human trafficking, and human smuggling by boats. It is, however, important to note that the major drivers of irregular migration, or the push factors in our region, include, but not limited to, the unemployment and the lack of opportunity for the youths, who are the main participants in such ventures. Such journeys have recently contributed to exacerbating the political, economical, and social challenges of both the countries of departure and the countries of disembarkation.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Isabel Bloch of Charter Affairs in the Gambia emphasized the importance of the Gambian Navy in terms of surveillances, adding that the Navy's work cannot be effective without using proper equipment. The Gambian Navy helps in activities taking place along the coastal areas of the country, ranging from rescuing people, addressing human smuggling and trafficking, among others. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
All right, the Gambian Navy, they are receiving 2 patrol vehicles from the German government as part of efforts to combat irregular migration, but also human trafficking. And of course, this in a way would help the Navy to patrol along the beach side to help mitigate the challenges that the country is encountering in terms of irregular migration, but of course human trafficking and many other things that happen along the beach, which are possibly not which are against the law of the land. So I think it's a good gesture, as the Navy commander said. It would help in to ease some of the challenges, their transport challenges or their movement challenges, to effectively and efficiently do their works or job as expected, or to deliver their duties, if you like. So, I mean, these are some of the things that I think the several security sectors need to beef up security in the Gambia. su ko defee rek comme ni ngeen ko gisee noonu loolu mu nekk lu am solo mooy Gambia Navy ñoom ñoo dal di jot ndimbal ci ñaari moto jógee ko ci nguuri Germany pour nag ñu dimbal leen ci ñaari moto yooyu pour ñu mun a def seen liggéey bi nu mu waree ndax xam ngeen ne léegi bi dem ak dikk bi day jafe ñoom nag ci wàllum géej gi ak li ko wër lañ féete pour gis ne lépp lu fa war a xew dafa war a nekk lu jaar ci yoon waaye tamit lu nekk lu am solo léegi xam ngeen ne ñu bari foofu la ñoo jaar dugg ci ndox bi dem Europe ak yu mel noonu wala dem ci bitim réew ñu ko wax irregular migration mooy yooni gannaaw bi wala léegi ñu dafay def naka sudul noonu mu nekk ay jëf yi nga xamante daal àndul ak loi yooyu nañ ko mun a moytandiku ñoom nag ci tànk yooyu la ñoo dox aar géej gi ak doxalin lu fay nekk yooyu yëpp ay mbir lañ bu ko defee lii dina leen mun a dimbale ñu mun ci am taxawaay bi nga xamante ne taxawaay bu am solo la comme ni ñu ko gisee noonu ci report bi ñu am yaakaar tamit ndimbal bi comme Navy commander bi nu mu ko waxee loolu tamit na ci nekk taxawaay bu am solo ci seen liggéey mu nekk li nga xamante ne kon ni ma ko waxee ñu bari jàpp ne nañ gis ne dana am lim wàññi ci yenn jëf yi nga xamante ne dafay xew ci wàllum géej gi ak yu mel te xëj na waruta am su ko defee ñu wéy desandi ci wàllum kaaraange réew mi ndax loolu dafa am solo bu baax a baax waxoon naa ko ci ndorte mi nekk na mbir bi nga xamante ne surtout jamono ji soxal na nit ñi bu baax a baax te police bi bu yàggut amoon nañ ci ay initiative bi nga xamante ne jëloon nañ ko pour wóor guddi ak yu mel noonu daal am nañ def ak ñenn ñi nga xamante ne daal dañuy dal di def naka sudul noonu. Well, we'll move on or stay with security matters, and because the public relation officer of the Gambia Police Force is of the view that the rate of crime is taking a downturn after the Operation Zero Crime Patrol team was launched. The joint security operation has effected the arrest of more than 400 suspected criminals in different parts of the Greater Banjul areas and the West Coast region in the month of April. And Fatmata Kasim has more details of that in this report.
About 200 from the list of suspected criminals were discharged for not having connection with any crime, leaving 200 more in police custody since the launch of the operation targeting criminal hideouts. Relying on the daily statistics of this arrest, police spokesperson Superintendent Lamin Jai noted that crimes are noticeably going down.
Well, using the figures that we have been registering from the beginning of the Operation Zero, you will realize that as we continue, the figures were dropping. It went to a point, in fact, in West Coast region, we patrolled at some point in time with no arrest. In Banjul, you patrol the whole day or 2 days or so with no arrest. And then same thing applies in KM, and that tells you that the trend is kind of going down, because at the beginning when we started the operation, we were able to arrest up to 117 people, if I remember well. And so if you go down the line, you realize you are not arresting at all. That means, of course, most of the criminal hideouts are being dismantled, and so therefore the people are already either under custody or being processed in court, so therefore the rate has to go down.
He explains that the arrests were not randomly done. Instead, the police rely on its intelligence to identify places being used as safe haven for people who have either committed or are about to commit crimes.
Really, our officers, when they go out on patrol, they gather intelligence first before they go out on patrol. And so the intelligence will point out to certain locations and certain areas which are frequented by people who commit crime or people who are about to commit crime. And so these are the areas that they target. Not every day people going about their business. Those are not their targets. But if they go to certain Indian places that are part of the intelligence that they have gathered, then they will find individuals there. In fact, at certain instances, they found people with evidence of suspected stolen properties, or they found them with instruments that are breaking and stealing instruments. So those are all evidences to show that these individuals within this particular location are connected in one way or the other to some form of crime, and therefore they need to be subjected to further investigation.
The police force is now looking up to expanding this form of joint operation to the rest of the regions.
Very well. In fact, as we are on this Operation Zero, although the fact that the numbers are coming from, the reports that we are receiving are coming from, most of them are coming from Greater Banjul and West Coast region, is the fact or the reason why, in fact, the operation is coordinated within these three regions. But simultaneously also, other regions are conducting their own patrols, because the same services that we have here are also existing in all the regions, and they are also having their own task force, and they are patrolling within their regions as well.
Among these cases from the patrol operations, non-documented immigrants were handed to the Immigration Department regulations, while those with suspected drugs were referred to the Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Meanwhile, more than 60 people have been charged for crimes relating to going armed in public, breaking and stealing, drinking and driving, among others. For iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
Well, Operation Zero Crime has yielded some positive results, according to the police PRO or spokesperson, Superintendent Lamin Jai, as you already had in that report there, filed in by Fatmata Kasim, that of course, the number of arrests since the commencement of the Operation Zero Crime has, lowered. Of course, the arresting has been minimal, if you like. Not much has been happening, but about 400 suspected criminals were arrested during the early parts of the operation. Well, we only hope that the police would not relent in their efforts to make sure that there's safety for everyone. They would keep on the operations despite that the number of arrests has gone down, but yet still, I don't think they should, let go of the operations. They should keep up the momentum and go beyond, if you like, the Greater Banjul area, of course, the West Coast region, but of course, across the country. I think, also needs security. So they need to keep up the good work. Of course, it has been welcoming to many Gambians of late. The crime rate has not been realized as it was for some weeks ago or prior to the commencement of the operation. But then again, like I said, I only hope the police would keep up the momentum. They will not relent on the operations, despite the police PRO said the number of arrests has gone down compared to when they initially started, right? su ko defee comme ni ngeen ko gisee noonu ci report bi police bi ñi nga xamante ne ñu ngi dem di wor ki yoree kaddu police bi di superintendent Lamine Ndiaye gannaaw bi nga xamante ne police bi jël nañ initiative pour di wër ci guddi wala di wër ci biir dëkk bi surtout ci biir Kombo gi ak li ko wër ba biir West Coast ak tamit Banjul ci capital bi gis ne daal kaaraange gi yokku nañ ko am na ñi nga xamante ne jàpp nañ nag ñu bëri waaye gis nañ ne léegi loolu wàññeeku na bu baax ba ci nim ko waxee ñu am yaakaar nag loolu di tax ñoom ñu wàññi seen loxo nañ continuer di dëgëral taxawaay bi di wër di aar nit ñi ak seen moomeel ak réew mi parce que nag amoon na jamono nit ñi demoon nañ ba caalit waaw tiitaange bari woon na lool ci wàllum li nga xamante ne mooy kaaraange réew mi daanaka bés bu nekk nga dégg tafaar nga dégg mbir bi nga xamante ne day maari daal dafa nekk li nga xamante ne mooy mbir yu doy waar boo ko déggee da ngay wax ne mari daal so loolu mbir la yi nga xamante ne dañ ko war a bàyyi xel waaye ñoom seen taxawaay dañ ko war a yokk ñu gën koo dëgëral bu baax a baax loolu ci dana am solo bu baax a baax ci niñ ko waxee well ñu continuer ba léegi ñu fàttali rek ne yéen a ngi ànd ak li nga xamante ne mooy Good Morning Africa programme bi fii ci Africa TV ñu am mbégte lool ci ni ngeen di ànd ak ñun bés bu nekk ci suba si bu waxtu bi jotee well if you are just joining us we just remind you that you are with the Thursday's edition of the Good Morning Africa program live on Africa TV. Once again, wherever you are, thank you so very much for joining us. Now, we reported on the ongoing public hearing of the TRC. We have also done on security matters. Now, let's do a report on health-related activity because, whatever. Now, the program manager of the trachoma disease at the Ministry of Health, Sajo Kanyi, has told iAfrica TV that the country is well prepared to tackle the occurrence of trachoma and other neglected tropical diseases. This comes following World Health Organization's confirmation for the elimination of trachoma as a public problem in the Gambia, becoming the second country in sub-Saharan Africa to register such a milestone. The CISE has more details of that in this report.
Trachoma is the world's leading cause of infectious blindness and is part of a group of conditions known as neglected tropical disease. According to the Health Ministry, the elimination of trachoma as a public health problem in the Gambia is a significant contribution towards the attainment of the National Development Plan and the Sustainable Development Goals. The program coordinator of trachoma disease at the Health Ministry, Sajo Kanyi, said the country is ready to tackle the resurgence of trachoma and other neglected tropical diseases.
Level of eye care delivery in the Gambia is at 3 levels. One, in the community, we have the village health workers, we have the nyateros, we also have the community-based champions. These are there to provide awareness, to provide information and education about eye health, and also to provide refer patients to the community. We've been also collaborating with the traditional practitioners. As you know, in the villages, most of the point of call for many people is the traditional practitioners. What we did was to collaborate with these traditional practitioners. At the end of the day, we've seen them referring patients to the hospital. We've also used the traditional communicators, the Kanyelangos, in the community to spread eye health messages to the people. So all this played a very important part. And as I'm talking to you now, we have 24 primary centers in the Gambia where ophthalmic nurses are based. Their role is to be able to see eye patients and also conduct simple minor operations like lid surgery. In the 7 health regions, we have 7 secondary eye units which are manned by cataract surgeons and their role is to ensure that their role is not only based at the facility but also responsible for the eye health of the region. And all referrals of these patients come down to Seaside, which is the main tertiary center. So we have the infrastructure, we have the capacity, we have the human sources. All what we need is more support for this trachoma surveillance.
Mr. Kanyi explained the risk factors of the disease on patients who suffered from trachoma, saying women and children are more vulnerable to the disease.
The patients, first of all, they will complain of, as I told you, it starts with simple conjunctivitis. If it is not treated, repeated infection leads to trachoma. They will have red eyes, they will have discharges, they have tearing eyes, they have irritations, they find it very difficult to walk even under the sun. This happens in children. As they grow older, what happens is there is scarring of the eyelids, the eyelashes, instead of turning outside, they are turning inwards, rubbing against the cornea. So if we don't do the correction, what will happen at the end of the day? They will end up having a ruptured globe and the patient will lose the sight. So basically, these are the complications that patients suffer from trachoma. So with proper treatment, you can stop the infection and also correct the inturning eyelashes. Instead of rubbing on the eyeball, you can correct the sedation. So the patients will not suffer from that blindness complication.
Trachoma is the disease of the eye, caused by infection with the bacteria Chlamydia trachomatis. The disease is a public health problem in 44 countries and is responsible for the blindness of about 1.9 million people, according to the WHO. A March 2020 data appear to show that 137 million people living in trachoma endemic areas are at high risk of blindness. Trachoma disease has been an epidemic for the Gambia, and the fight against the disease began decades ago. In 1986, a medical survey found that trachoma was the third leading cause of blindness in the Gambia. However, the Ministry of Health described the elimination of the disease in a press statement on Tuesday as a milestone which resulted from a strong partnership that supported the implementation of the Gambia Trachoma Program. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am DCC.
Well done, Gambia, and of course to our health experts also, if you like, a fantastic achievement there for the Gambia, becoming the second country in the sub-Saharan Africa to eliminate trachoma as a disease in the country. Great achievement. Well, of late, we have seen the health ministry doing some fantastic work, which I think it's just a step in the right direction. This is what we want to see as a country. And of course, as highlighted by the program manager of trachoma disease at the Ministry of Health, Sadio Kanyi, that of course the Gambia is prepared to tackle trachoma if the disease should re-emerge again, and but not only trachoma, but also other tropical diseases as well. So as he said, the country is prepared, they got the capacity, the technical know-how, and all that is needed to make sure that if there is any resurgence of the disease again, it can be easily, dealt with. I think that's a great one there from him. Of course, once again, congratulations to the Ministry of Health, to all the health experts or personnel, of course, through the health minister for another great achievement. Well, mu nekk li nga xamante ne mooy li am solo ci wàllum wér-gu-yaram ci feebar bi nga xamante ne ci wàllum bët la mu nekk feebar nag bu doy waar ndax ku wax bët moom xam ne leneen lu am solo ci doomi aadama ci feebar bi nga xamante ne bu la jàppee day indi jafe-jafe ci wàllum bët ñu dem ba tey gis wax ne tey réew mi dem na ba mun a daan nañ feebar boobu nekkatul ci réew mi WHO sax confirme na loolu mooy ñu yore wàllum wér-gu-yaram ci àdduna si yëpp dal di ci ndokkale réew mi ci taxawaay boobu Gambia nekk ñaaleeri réew bu daaneel feebar boobu génnee ko ci réew mi ñu jàpp ne loolu lu am solo la moo tax ñu war a sargal bu baax waaye tamit delloo njukkal ñuy liggéey ci wàllum wér-gu-yaram bi doole ko ci ministre bu yore wàllum wér-gu-yaram boobu Minister of Health ndokkale ko waaye tamit gën leen ñaax ci taxawaay bi gis nañ jamono ji moom ci taxawaay ministre bi ci ñu ñoo xeexee wàllum feebar ak yeneen jàngoro yi nga xamante ñu ngi ci réew mi am na solo te loolu lañ séntu ci ñoom foog ñu ñaax leen tamit bu ñu amee ndam ci yenn taxawaay day am solo ñu ñaax leen tamit ñu gën a góorgóorlu yokk taxawaay bi ndax tamit fànn bu ñu nekk fànn bu am solo la réew du mun a dox develop su fekkee ne nit ñi wéruñ comme ni ñoo wax rek réew bu wér mooy réew bu am yokkute ak naataange ci niñ ko waxee ci nasaraan a healthy nation is a wealthy nation loolu nag mu nekk li nga xamante ne mooy li am solo well ñu dem ci beneen xibaar jéggi nag this time ci biti réew waxati tamit ci la am solo ñu dem fale ci Zimbabwe indi fa beneen report laata ñu xuus ba léegi ci programme bi well from that health report there as Gambia finally eliminated trachoma disease in the country or should I say of course the health personnel did an excellent job to make sure the disease is no longer in the country and as confirmed by the World Health Organization. Now from that report we cross borders and heads straight to Zimbabwe where a 17-year-old girl is using her sporting skill to combat early marriage in the remote settlement of the country's capital Harare. She is using her taekwondo talent to inspire her fellow girls against child marriage while pursuing her career to represent her country in major competition. Now, despite efforts to formulate marriage laws to regulate the situation, many girls continue to fall as victims of early marriage and prostitution. Here's more details of that in this report.
Biting poverty in Epworth, an informal settlement in Zimbabwe's capital Harare, has forced many young girls into prostitution or early marriage. Natsirai Shemaritsa, who's seen several of her friends married off before they finished school, wants to prevent more of them from falling into the same predicament by training them in Taekwondo.
Some of these girls, they are experiencing difficult situations. They are living in a poverty-stricken area. So in order for them not to get married, they should endure the hardship. Taekwondo is very painful, and for one to continue, she has to endure the pain. So it teaches them endurance and also to believe even in their dreams.
Zimbabwe has a 33.7% prevalence of child marriages, despite the unions being outlawed under a constitution passed in 2013. Delays in aligning new and old provisions have created loopholes.
You know that now there is a bill that is at an advanced stage to try and see what could be done to make sure that there is harmony between the marriage laws. But we don't think that is enough to just have a law. A multi-pronged approach is important. Continue to empower young people with life skills education, with comprehensive sexuality education, and also engage the policy makers and also continue to advocate for implementation of the laws that are there.
Some of those life skills are being imparted in Natsirai's backyard, although getting everyone to join in hasn't been easy.
There was this myth that said if you do taekwondo, if you're a girl, you will not have children. And they also believe that taekwondo is only meant for boys. But I'm trying also to fight against that myth, that taekwondo is meant for everyone. We are all equal, we are all the same. We can do what boys can do even though we're girls.
The 17-year-old wants to prove this by representing her country at the Olympics one day. While Natsirai's Olympic dream may still be some years away, she can already take pride in the fight she's engaged in here, which is aiming to deliver a knockout blow to child marriages.
All right, what an inspiring report there. Of course, Taekwondo is for everybody, not only for men, but also for women. As you heard from that report there, an inspiring one indeed. A young Zimbabwean teenager girl, of course, using her sporting skills in Taekwondo to combat child marriage, and of course prostitution, in our country, but also working towards her dream of one day representing her country in major competitions, which I think is very inspiring. And also, by the way, she's using that sporting skill to inspire her fellow young girls, as you can see there on your screens. She's very, inspiring, and this is, I think, what's emulating. And of course, is looking at her age, just 17, and she's doing some excellent job to make sure that some of the other girls also would be inspired to do this sport, but also maybe to be more aware of the consequences, of course, of early marriage and all that. So we hope that it will have a great impact in her quest to help her fellow young girls in Zimbabwe, but also in the other parts of the world, or to anyone who watch this inspiring message or video. Great one there from that 17-year-old girl. Well, with that, of course, we should move on, but that's all we have on the studio stories this morning. But that's not all we have for you as far as the program is concerned. We would be taking a break and come back shortly with the newspaper review. We are going to check on what the papers are also reporting this morning before we finally say goodbye. And just to remind you again, in case if you are just joining us, this is the Thursday's edition of the Good Morning Africa program, live from Africa TV. Once again, thank you so very much for joining us. And let's go with a short break. And when we come back, we shall do the newspaper review and check on what the papers are reporting. Stick around with us. We'll be back right after this.
Star GSM Electronics special Ramadan promotion starting from April 4th to 15 on all our Slaughter home appliances such as two-way gas cooker, microwaves, washing machines, stand fan rechargeable that can last for 8 hours, different stand freezers, deep freezers from 140 to 400 liters, blenders, stand and ceiling fans, solar panels ranging from 150 to 600 watts, different types of solar batteries, stabilizer ranging from 500 watts to 2500 watts, originally flat screens from 17 to 65 inches. All our items are durable, energy saving, modern and 2 years warranty. Buy our Slaughter deep or stand freezers, 140 liters for only $10,000. Visit our distribution center at Star GSM at Westfield Highway opposite OJ Junction, Talindi Market, or Tabokoro Traffic Light, or call 700-2494. At Star GSM, our appliances are original, durable, modern, and energy saving. Star GSM Electronics.
All right, welcome back. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. And this is Africa TV, and you are with the Thursday's edition of the Good Morning Africa program. And we are now into the final segment of today's edition. And of course, that is the newspaper review. And we say a big thank you to our proud sponsor, Star GSM, for powering this segment, of course, where we check on what the newspapers are also reporting in this early Thursday morning. And I'm glad to say this morning, of course, we have the Voice newspaper, the Point newspaper, and the Fourier newspaper with me. And we are going to check on their headlines quickly. To start with, we are going to look at the Voice newspaper. The paper is reporting on their headlines that NEA calls for protection of ozone layer. That's what the paper is reporting. And another story on the Voice newspaper says, James condemns government over leave work early memo. And another story is sexual violence in Gambia's dictatorship era still rampant. Another story on the paper says outgoing ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda pays courtesy call on HE, that's His Excellency Barrow, the President, if you like, and group calls for action against road accident. That's not all the paper is reporting. It's also saying Refuge Council in Germany calls on Barrow to hold talks with Baden-Württemberg coalition and amid mass deportation. And another story, still on the paper, says House Committee briefed on OIC projects, and man pledges not guilty of assault charge. So this is what the Voice newspaper have on their headlines, and maybe a one look on one of the stories. Now, let's check on James condemning government over leave work early memo. Now, James F. Mendy, CEO of Humanitarian and Peace Assistance Organization, has condemned government leave work early memo, insisting the state should always be neutral between practicing religions in the country. Mr. Mendy's condemnation comes barely 2 weeks since the government issued a memo asking female staff officials to officially close from work at 1400 hours, this PM, in order to go home and prepare a meal known as iftar for their families to break their daily fast in the holy month of Ramadan. So that is one of the many other stories that have been reported on the Voice newspaper this morning. And from that story there on James' condemnation of the government decision to allow female or women staff to leave home early to prepare for their iftar or family meal during the month of Ramadan. So more details, of course, on that and other stories you can check on the paper. You can get what he had to say more on that and many other stories also. Now we'll move on quickly to the Point newspaper. The Point is reporting that dictator Hunter says perpetrator's testimony enough to prosecute Jammeh. And another one on the Point says police arrest youth at Mandinari LBS, that means lower basic school. And then unlawful termination of magistrates, judges were rampant. Yeah, that's what the paper is reporting, relating to, I think, the former Justice Minister's testimony. And outgoing ICC Chief Prosecutor Bensouda pays courtesy call on Barrow. And yeah, that's all the paper is reporting this morning on their headlines. Now let's check on one of the stories, and let's do what the dictator Hunter says about Jammeh, because he says perpetrator's testimony enough to prosecute former President Jammeh. Now, renowned international human rights advocate Red Brody, also known as fondly called Dictator Hunter, says the testimonies of the direct perpetrators at the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, the TRRC, could be enough to convict former President Yahya Jammeh. The Human Rights Watch lawyer told this reporter via telephone conversation that the former strongman can actually be brought to book. Yeah, that's what the dictator Hunter is apparently suggesting or saying, that the perpetrator's testimony could be enough to bring Jammeh to book. And as you heard there, for more details of what he said on that, and many of the other stories also reported on the paper, you can check on, or you can try to grab a copy of the Point newspaper for more detail on that. And let's round it up with the Fourier newspaper finally for now and for today. And the paper is reporting that state files motion seeking to stay NIA 9 case after Yankuba Baji and his colleague protested against Justice Kumbasila Kamara. And another story on the Fourier still reports that National Assembly Joint Committee engages IEC on election bill. Gambia Navy receives 2 beach vehicles worth $4.6 million, as you earlier on heard from our report. And former Gambian soldier Omar Sajo faces prosecution for obtaining Gambian passport by false declaration. And also another report or story on the Foreign newspaper said 80 $3 million dollars to be spent on Barton-Harding Highway, and court convicts man for robbing policeman. So on the editorial of the paper is saying, when the law oversee becomes the law breaker. And the question of the day reads, which documents are required to get registration? That's what the Doi newspaper is asking today. And just finally, let's check on, on one of the stories here quickly. I want us to do on the election bill discussion currently taking place at the National Assembly, if you like. Or let's check on the monies to be spent on the Barton-Harding Highway, $83 million. Now, Mr. Ibrahim Akoli, the project manager of the Organization of Islamic Conference, OIC, said Barton-Harding Highway is funded by the Kuwait Fund, Abu Dhabi, Bin Dia, Ofid, and Gambia government at the total sum of $83 million. He said this remarked on Wednesday, 21st April 2021, during an interface with the National Assembly Committee on Monitoring Government Projects with officials from the Ministry of Works, National Growth Authority, and the OIC Management Committee. It's 9:46 according to our studio clock, and with that, we finally bring today's edition of the Good Morning Africa program. So we say thank you to all the newspapers for allowing us to use their papers, as always, and we are so much appreciative of that. Well, viewers, once again, I must say big thanks to you as always for the pleasure of your company, for always being there, and of course, during the time when we're here from Monday to Friday, and we'll be back tomorrow, inshallah, God willing, for the week's ending edition, where we hope to bring you a wider discussion on some of the very pertinent issues in the country, with some very, wonderful discussions with guests, as always we do. And once again, thank you for being there. Well, mbokk yi ñu ngi leen di jaajëfalaat bu baax beneen yoon ci ni ngeen di ànd ak ñun, waaye tamit fare Eye Africa toujours bu waxtu bi jotee juróom-ñeenti waxtu suba ba saa yu ñoo tàggatoo ak yéen ci jotaay ji tey fii la ñoo yemandi ak yéen di leen gërëm bu baax fi ngeen mënta nekk ci ni ngeen ñi taamoo di ànd ak ñun saa su ne bu waxtu bi jotee mbégte lay doon saa su ne ñu ñëw ànd ak yéen ci suba si indi leen ay xibaar waaye tamit ay waxtaan yu am solo suba ñu dellusiwaat bu ci yàlla àndee ci émission bu mujj ci week bi ñu war ci am nag am yaakaar waxtaan yu am solo ci réew mi tolluwaay bi ak comme ni ñu koy defee saa su ne di leen gërëm ci safoo bi ak kóolute bi jërë ngeen jëfati ba suba ak jàmm di leen wax Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you very much. Jërëjëf, bye bye.
Tayuma ko dafa ne ci man coono di dem